Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Kelley, the founder and CEO of KnowledgePay Incorporated, and welcome to this episode of Using Compensation Software to Solve Real HR Problems. In this episode, we're going to be taking a look at some of the issues that can be a costly and potentially embarrassing problem for HR and compensation professionals, which is determining whether a job is exempt under the Fair Labor Standards Act, or the FLSA. Deciding whether a job is exempt from the FLSA is usually done by the compensation professional, and it really is a fundamental or core competency to work in this field. Yet every single year, we see over 1,000 judgments levied against employers for jobs that have been misclassified. Most often, it's the executive exemption test or the administrative tests that have been improperly applied. And these judgments affect over 10,000 employees across the country and can amount to over $10 to $15 million of back wages. Not only that, but these are just statistics from the U.S. Department of Labor. Each individual state may have its own compliance requirements and enforcement, which would result in even more fines affecting more employees. And if those numbers aren't alarming enough, we expect the number of violations to increase in the coming years with the new Obama administration. One of the very first orders of business in the U.S. Department of Labor was the announcement of the plans to hire 200 more investigators for the Wage and Hour Division so that they can, quote, vigorously protect wages and working conditions for the American worker. And there's no big surprise here. Really, increased enforcement just allows the government to increase their own revenue without even having to create any new taxes. On top of all that, we all know that companies can incur significant expenses even if there is no violation, just in trying to defend themselves. Responding to charges can be very time consuming and can be a real drain on productivity, and certainly yet another barrier to achieving the objectives that you had set out to deliver for your business partners. Not to mention the potential legal expenses if you need to bring in outside legal counsel to help. Bottom line here is that there is a very significant risk to be managed with regards to compliance with the Fair Labor Standards Act. And from our firsthand experience of working in the field of human resources, we have developed features inside of our KnowledgePay compensation software that will dramatically improve your risk exposure and improve the efficiency and productivity if you need to respond to a claim of a job being misclassified as exempt. So let's take a few moments and log into the KnowledgePay software system and see how some of the features that we have created can help you be more effective in managing your risk for Fair Labor Standards Act compliance. Okay, I've now logged into the KnowledgePay compensation system, and I'm going to pick on one particular job from the list of jobs within our organization here, and we'll take a look at the Fair Labor Standards Act feature within, let's take brand manager as an example. So when I click on the brand manager job, what's going to appear on the screen is the traditional job description, duties, responsibilities, job summary, and so on. But over here to the right, I have this FLSA tab, and when I click on this, the screen then appears the different exemption tests that are recognized by the U.S. Department of Labor. There are 6 different exemption tests, and what we have stored is within each one of these tests, they can be done independently, but we have loaded in what are the basic questions that the U.S. Department of Labor would ask in terms of going through and doing an evaluation. So you can see how we've evaluated this job under the brand manager job under the executive exemption. We've determined that it's a non-exempt job under this test. It does meet the salary requirements. It is paid $455 a week or more. However, when we get to this next question, the primary duty of managing the enterprise or a recognized department or subdivision, we didn't feel that it met that requirement, and we can just kind of scroll through here, and it's managing a group of products but not a recognized department or subdivision of the department. And also customarily or regularly directing the work of 2 or more employees. Well, in this case also it does not meet that exemption test. So it's pretty clear that we are going to say that it's non-exempt under the executive exemption. However, we can take a look at the administrative exemption and look at these questions. It hasn't been evaluated yet. We do know that it does meet the requirements there because it is paid more than $455 a week. primary duty of performing office or non-manual work, yes, those were things that were over here on the duties and responsibilities in terms of managing strategic components of product marketing plans and so on. So we have the basis for being able to answer that question now in the affirmative. We could say that yes, it is performing non-office or office or non-manual work that's related to the management or general business operations. And we can put in our response and word it the way that it's going to make sense to us down the road. Does it exercise discretion and independent judgment with respect to matters of significance? And we could say that yes, this job is accountable for establishing price and feature requirements for what the products are going to contain. So those are matters of significance to the organization, and this individual will be making either independent judgments or will be making recommendations for what actions the organization ought to take. What we've also done inside KnowledgePay, we give the ability for the client company to configure their own items. If there are additional questions beyond what the U.S. Department of Labor specifically states that they'll be asking under each test, if you want to ask additional questions, you can add those questions here and then always have a response that's stored with the job. In addition to that, we also, within the help section, if I click on this link, it's going to bring up a window and we can look at the help under the Fair Labor Standards Act. And what we have here is some verbiage around how we navigate within the software, but then we can also click on this hypertext link and it's going to take us right to the US DOL's websites and look at their opinion letters. So we could get some guidance as to additional ways that we might want to think about whether a job is exempt or non-exempt. The goal of the KnowledgePay compensation software is to centrally track and store the evaluation and analysis that you do when making these FLSA exemption decisions. The worst thing in the world that can happen is when you get a call saying that we're being challenged about a job being exempt or not, is to not have the records and who did the evaluation. Maybe that person left the organization 3 years ago and you don't have access to their files. So the KnowledgePay compensation software allows you to consistently evaluate the jobs using the standard templates and also always have that information readily available, centrally tracked. You'll know who did the evaluation, when they did it, because any of the changes that we make inside here are automatically logged. And also you'd be able to do some mass reporting of looking at the jobs and what jobs have been evaluated and what sorts of responses have been entered into the KnowledgePay system. I hope you enjoyed the quick demonstration of the FLSA features inside the KnowledgePay compensation software. Hopefully you were able to see by having a powerful and intuitive compensation software system, you're really able to transform scattered data into focused intelligence. Here as it relates to the FLSA compliance, using a consistent template and having all the job analysis details stored with all the other job records will dramatically improve the efficiency and effectiveness for being able to mitigate your risk as it relates to Fair Labor Standards Act compliance. This will allow you to focus in on more of the strategic business issues facing your organization. If you'd like to learn more about how KnowledgePay can help you, please contact us either by info@knowledgepay.com or by phone at 630-524-5818. You can learn much more about us on the web by visiting www.knowledgepay.com. I'm Chris Kelley, and thank you once again for watching the series using compensation software to solve real HR problems.